from some tertiary sources, but the timeline does add up. In 2000, Google was exploding and on its way to becoming the #1 search engine on the web, and in 2004, the company had officially gone public. This was a very important year for Google, and only got its name out there even further, exploding and on its way to becoming the #1 search engine on the web, officially gone public. This was a very important year for Google, and only got its even further. Google was exploding and on its way to becoming the #1 search engine on the web, officially gone public. This was a ones. And this role that the website had is undeniably what made it become as popular as it did. As I mentioned, there isn't any evidence that Goggle.com was in fact malicious in 2004, except for some claims from some tertiary sources, but the timeline does add up. In 2000, Google was exploding and on its way to becoming the #1 search engine on the web, and in 2004, the company had officially gone public. This was a very important year for Google, and only got its name out there even further, exploding and on its way to becoming the #1 search engine on the web, officially gone public. This was a very important year for Google, and only got its even further. Google was exploding and on its way to becoming the #1 search engine on the web, officially gone public. This was a Or was this all just a coincidence? This is when the domain's registration date comes in. Take a look at it, early 1998. Why is this important? Well, the actual Google's domain was registered in 1997, just 5 months prior. Keep in mind that Google was still in prototype phase at this time, and didn't even officially launch until September of 1998, almost a year later. In 1998, you still had other search engines dominating the web like Yahoo or Dogpile. Google was just getting started, so why would a website want to impersonate some obscure search engine that only might be successful? This information alone could support the narrative that Goggle.com was just a normal website at this time. After all, Goggle is a real word, it's not just a strange misspelling. Perhaps the website was just bought out later on when people saw the possibilities that it had. Or maybe Goggle.com was always a dangerous website but never had any motive on targeting Google users. The name was instead just a coincidence, and a similarly spelled website just becoming insanely popular at the time led to a perfect storm of circumstances. But regardless of the website's intentions, that's what it ended up becoming. The odds of such a typo were slim, but the small chances it did happen were catastrophic. So what did Goggle.com do to its victims? Well, a lot. Things that today, due to better security and more advanced software, would be either unconventional or flat out impossible. For example, the moment you even joined the Goggle.com webpage, it would instantly download and install dozens of malware and pop-up ads, some of which were obscene, to your computer, at least according to legend. Luckily, now we have pop-up blockers that we take for granted, and user account control makes sure that these things install with our consent first. But that feature was introduced in Windows Vista, which hadn't come out yet. In 2006, most people were using Windows XP or even 9X Windows. They didn't have the security and resources available to them that would be provided in Windows Vista. Goggle.com took advantage of that. If you were some layman computer user running Windows XP and using Internet Explorer, you were going to be victim to this. And this was exactly the kind of people a site like this was targeting: the clumsy and the gullible. It was essentially a more discreet version of a drive-by download, a download that the user indirectly authorizes. But this is just the superficial stuff of what this site did. What's really interesting about Goggle.com is that it wasn't just some single, really sophisticated computer virus hosted on the web, even though it might appear that way. It was basically a ton of different computer viruses working together to cause damage in their own way. Kind of like the I Love You worm, Goggle.com was pretty much a Frankenstein's monster conglomerate of malicious software, resulting in a bunch of moving parts that created a website that pretty much had a mind of its own. The pop-up ads were there to annoy you and distract you from noticing the real threat that was surreptitiously working in the background. Which leads to the next question. What made Goggle.com so dangerous? Well, Goggle did something pretty unique to other contemporary typo squatter websites. It took advantage of a very big exploit that was present in Windows at the time: the WMF exploit. Short for Windows Metafile, WMF files were basically image files where, whenever you opened one, a bunch of computer commands would essentially start running in the background, constructing colors, lines, and shapes to compile the image together so that you can see it and interact with it. Well, one of the many components that helps run these commands, a particular DLL file responsible for communicating with printers and monitors, had a vulnerability in it that basically caused the file to panic and allow it to execute any Windows command. So, all a programmer had to do was create an image file where, the moment a user clicked on it, it immediately downloaded a dangerous program, for example. This actually happened with MySpace in July of 2006, where millions of users clicked on a banner advertisement and unknowingly downloaded spyware. Because of this exploit, there was almost no protection from drive-by downloads. Remember all those pop-up ads? Well, if you accidentally clicked on one trying to get rid of it or whatever, you would end up downloading Goggle.com's secret weapon, Spy Sheriff. This program probably could have its own video, but Goggle was able to mass spread it across computers. Spy Sheriff was malware that pretended to be an antivirus program. It would lie, saying that you have all these viruses installed on your computer, and would sometimes even charge users to remove them. This was perfect timing on the program's end, too. You just visited a suspicious website, and after leaving, you have an alert saying your computer is infected. For a non-experienced computer user, they might think this is legitimate and from built-in Windows antivirus software, and thus grant it permission for more administrative access. During the installation process, Spy Sheriff would mess with registry keys and install itself in a way that would pretty much bake it into your operating system. It would block your entire internet connection, where the only accessible website was Spy Sheriff's. It would create administrator accounts without your consent and change vital system preferences. It would change your background to a spyware notification. If you tried uninstalling Spy Sheriff, it would just show back up, and if you kept on uninstalling it, it would crash your whole computer and give you a blue screen of death. The program will get to the point where your computer is unusable, where you can't even open System Restore. You better have a backup, because quite often, your only option left would be to completely wipe your hard drive. It truly is incredible how one bug in an image file essentially destroyed thousands of computers. The WMF exploit would be patched in Windows Vista and onward, But what's even more interesting is that the exploit mostly affected NT-based systems, such as Windows XP. So if you went on Goggle.com while running Windows XP, you were doomed. But ironically, if you were on Windows 98, you were much safer. And that is how simply typing in Goggle.com and pressing enter could do sometimes irreparable damage to your computer. And when people caught on to this, oh, they wanted the world to know. In September 2006 came what is now the earliest surviving evidence of Goggle.com's existence, a McAfee commercial uploaded to YouTube that showcased the website, and served as a public service announcement to millions about being safe online. And with it came both public acknowledgement and personal challenges. People were now filming themselves going on this website, whether as a dare or to see its legitimacy. Well, a lot of these computers in these videos were running Vista. And it is also important to keep in mind that patches for the WMF exploit on Windows XP were already officially released by Microsoft in January of 2006. The McAfee commercial could have been filmed before then, and there is no way of knowing if these YouTube users are running the patched version of Windows XP. So that could explain the less severe symptoms. Because even then, people were arguing back and forth. One side saying it was just all an internet hoax, the other side saying it was real and providing anecdotal evidence. In retrospect, the McAfee commercial kind of blurred the lines between fact and folklore. But regardless, Goggle.com quickly developed a negative reputation, and Google was going to put a stop to it. After initially declining to purchase the domain name, Google attempted to legally acquire the Goggle.com domain, but to their surprise, Google actually lost, as Goggle was not considered a misspelling of Google. I mean, goggles are a real thing after all. And in 2011, a settlement decision was made that the owners could keep the domain, but with stipulations. With evolving technology and being under strict surveillance, Goggle.com became less of a threat. There was even a way to program your computer to automatically revert to the real Google.com if you ever made this typo. As a result of dwindling notability, the website continuously changed owners, becoming a survey website in 2009, being taken down, becoming a survey website again, being taken down again, becoming a fake Flash Player downloader, becoming a blank HTML page, becoming a fake polling website, and then in 2020, becoming a political WordPress blog, which currently doesn't contain any malware. After all these years, it seems that Goggle may have finally found a stable home. It is arguably one of the strangest pieces of malware history, as evidence seems to point to the fact that there is no evidence, not a whole lot, both due to censorship and lack of record keeping. Malware so mysterious that many people, even back then, weren't even sure it was real. See, I went on the website and my computer is fine. Well, you have antivirus software, so of course nothing happened. No, this website is not fake. It damaged my computer. A mystery that could have very well been explained by just one bug fix. Goggle.com serves as a great example of the butterfly effect, the story of how one vulnerability found in Windows created an internet urban legend buried in time, hopefully to be revisited as a way for people to learn more about how much the internet has since grown, as well as how much it can continue to grow. We could talk about Goggle.com all day, but what would it have looked like to actually visit the website? Well, let's see.